Hello.
Hey, Carrie, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hi, Mary.
Hello.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Great.
Enjoying the warm weather?
Oh, wasn't that was so nice.
Yes.
Yeah. And the sunshine today was great.
I know it's so nice and warm to sit in the sun.
Yeah. Very much so. Hi, Liz.
Hello.
I think we're going to get some more warm weather, aren't we, Mary? Just a little bit more.
It's supposed to be nice tomorrow and maybe rain later. I think we're going to get rain from some of that Florida hurricane later on.
Yeah. National Grid put out an advisory about power outages. It seems, I hope not.
I hope not. I hope not too.
Yeah.
Although it might be a good chance to try my generator and make sure it works before winter.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. That's
But,
nice to have. I don't have one of those.
oh, I had to get one because we didn't go out that often, but when it goes off in the winter, it can be a long time.
Yeah, yeah. And it's can get cold. We have a wood stove, so that really helps. Hi, Robin. Yeah, the wood stove backup and the gas stove really have helped get us through those times.
Yeah, I have the wood stove and a fireplace, so I do good with that. It's more what keeps my refrigerator going and You know, do I have enough water to flush the toilets?
That's, yeah, that's a big one. Hi, Beth.
Hi.
So tonight I'm hosting because Grace's computer went down. It died. And so I'm hosting and then I'll pass it off to Miriam when she gets here. And she's gonna let me know who to make a co-host. So you have backup in case Miriam's connection goes down.
Okay.
And so any of the members who want to volunteer to be a co-host, I'm sure that would be great.
I can be a co-host. I'm fine.
Great, thank you, Beth. I feel better now in case my connection goes down, we're covered.
Maybe we should just go back to in-person meetings.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Oh, I can admit Chris Volante.
Oh, I got
Only if we can move our time earlier.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, a lot of meetings have moved to 5:30.
Yes, it can be a very long meeting in the dark if you have to drive back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Let's see. I think I gotta put my phone on mute.
Beth, now you and I can race to see who can let them in first.
As I say, so far I've only let one person in.
Okay. Oh, here comes Miriam.
Mm-hmm.
So did you put this phone in the living room?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put it in your bathroom because if it rings.
Okay, Julie.
So did you notice Beth's last name is Wilson?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't Vicky's maiden name Wilson?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi, welcome. Okay, we have a quorum, I believe. If you give me 1 second, I need to quit some apps so my computer doesn't crash.
Miriam, Beth
Yeah.
volunteered to be a co-host, so I made her co-host in case my computer went down before you got here. And I'm gonna make you the host. Is correct?
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, here I go. Oh, shoot.
And Becky, how do we turn off the recording later?
There's a button in the upper left-hand corner. I think Beth sees it. And you should see it once I make you host.
Okay. I see.
And it's right in the left top hand corner. It says recording with, a regular stop sign. Okay, just give me a second. People jumped around, so I haven't made you host yet and people are pouring in. All right. All right, there we go.
I like your little friend, Beth.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
This is Ginger.
Thank you. Good night, everybody. Have a good
Thank you.
meeting.
Good night, thank you.
Hi, thanks.
Okay, we're gonna call the meeting for 7:02. And of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission, and we have a lighter agenda than we ordinarily do. We don't have a lot of permitting tonight, which makes it a little easier for us. But for members of the public, we will be ending the meeting and going into executive session at the conclusion of the meeting. We won't be returning back to an open meeting after that. 7 p.m. we have a request for an amended order of conditions for the Ames Pond Trail Maintenance Project from Kestrel Land Trust. And who is here to talk about it? Anybody?
Hi, everyone. This is Chris Volanti from Kestrel Land Trust.
Hi, Chris.
I was actually looking through who's here because my contractor, Walker Corby, is supposed to be here to be able to give you details about the project, and I don't see him yet. So would you like me to try to begin without him?
Yeah, so let me just explain for you and for the public how the process works when we already have issued an order of conditions. So there's 2 steps to this process. The first is that we need to kind of review what you're asking, and we need to make it kind of a thumbs up or thumbs down. Is this a major change or a minor change? If it's a major change, we would require a whole new submittal of a notice of intent. If it's a minor change, could somebody let people in?
Yeah. I did. I think your contractor came in, Chris.
Great.
If it's a minor change, then we have to make a vote to make that determination. And then you're going to need to have another public hearing. We can't change the order of conditions if it's a minor change unless we have a publicly noticed public hearing, which means you have to do a butter notifications and you have to do the legal ad again. So we'll, after we make a vote, then we'll give you a hearing time and date so that you can proceed, assuming that's the decision we're going to make. So have commissioners, have you had a chance to look at the package that was sent?
Yep.
I'll just mention that, Miriam, I sent you an updated map this afternoon, which you may or may not have gotten.
The only way I know.
I haven't had time.
I haven't had a chance to open it up.
Okay.
Miriam,
What, Scott?
I said, I'm not sure. I haven't seen
I
that.
haven't seen it either.
When
did-
was that sent?
Oh, I think I was sent maybe a few days ago. Carrie, Carrie, are you able to forward it to everybody?
Yeah, I can do that. I should also note that I am not a co-host, so I can't admit people in, just
Okay,
so you know.
all right. If
Yeah, I can admit people. I'm keeping an eye on it.
Miriam, should I perhaps share the new and improved map? There's nothing factual different about it. It just has more information and better labeling.
Yeah, let's make you, let me get to participants and make you a co-host. Chris, I think I can do that. Make you a co-host. Okay. You should be able to screen share it now.
All right.
And so my understanding is that what you're proposing is what we had originally talked about in the public hearing, which is moving the trail sort of into a more upland area.
Yes.
Around the wet meadow.
Yes. That's essentially it in a nutshell. And the short story behind the change is Kestrel had engaged SWCA to do the planning and permitting for the overall project, which you might recall is intended to happen in 2 phases. This is phase one, which is the expanded parking area, the trail through the meadow, and then the viewing platform, and all the other components, which includes the replacement of the bog boardwalk, and other wetland crossings and some stone stabilization. We're planning on doing next year with Mass Trails funding, which we have received for that. So having completed the permitting, Kestrel opted to engage Terramore for the construction phase of phase one. And he spent a lot of time on site, really examining things and putting a lot of thought into things, and came to us with this revised proposal, which this map shows. Which, can everyone see it, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And Walker is now here to be able to talk you through this if you would like that.
Yeah, and I think we don't need to get down in the weeds because that would happen during the public hearing, and I don't want to do it now too much and then miss things later, but we just need enough to figure out what the reasoning is and kind of the lay of land, like just broad strokes kind of summary.
Sounds good. Walker, are you ready?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Yeah, after spending some time out here and working with somebody else's design and realizing that the understanding of the idea of not having trails in the bordered vegetated wetland, and then wondering why the trail went through the wettest part of the meadow. And I was a little confusing for me, so I assumed that there was a reason for that. But me being myself, I said, well, I should ask because it feels not the best thing. So I asked and had a little extra time and put something together and said, what would happen if we did this? And the idea being that we would go on the up side, stay out of the bordering wetland vegetation as much as possible, and use the puncheon when we crossed over those areas, but then use a stone dust trail for the other places, yeah, so that's the general overview. There's aesthetics with it, not having a lot of pressure treated wood kind of sitting on a property from an aesthetic point of view. Also, keeping the trail accessible as much as possible, and this is a little bit easier to control the grade in this particular area. Those were the main issues. The trails, it's a slightly longer trail, but it's a little less expensive to build, just because the pressure treated wood is expensive. I've already bought all the pressure treated wood for doing it the other way, but
Okay.
So
yeah.
Walker, I'll just chime in with a couple of other rationales that came up in your site assessment. One is the puncheon would be more subject to frost heaves, which creates a less level surface as the different decking boards shift around. So the stone dust is a more sustainable, accessible trail for the smooth surface continuity. And then the other piece was something that nobody noticed until someone who uses this machinery brought it up, that with the puncheon proposed along the southwestern edge of the meadow from the parking area, there was not access for a tractor to mow the meadow because they can't go over puncheon. So that was a practical logistical factor that arose also.
Okay. I just have one quick question. Is there much of a gradient change as you go this alternative route, since it's going to be an accessible trail?
It's very similar to the other one. This has a little bit of up, very slight amount of up, And you can see on the map how the existing the way that it's been worn into the ground there, the existing, I took the path a little bit down from that just to keep the grade from going up as far in elevation. So it's very comparable. Yeah.
Okay.
If not a little bit better.
So, does anyone else from the commission have questions?
I guess my one question would be, when you go this way, is it still all really within delineated wetland? Where the path's gonna be going? I can't remember.
Look like,
There, yeah, it was on one of my maps. Yeah, I mean, the entire project is going to be within that 200-foot border. I remember, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering what the length difference is. There's an echo. Of impact to wetlands. So you said that the trail's a little bit longer now through that area, and I'm just wondering what this linear feet is of increase to wetlands, I guess.
Sure, I think the original trail was 370, and this is something around maybe 410, 430, maybe, if I recall.
Okay. It's funny because this was what we suggested, this
yeah,
design
I was gonna,
originally.
that I think I think the plan that we thought was a better way to avoid wetland impacts. So I'm actually happy to see it coming back with this proposal versus the other.
yeah.
Me too.
All right. Do we have enough information to have a vote? Does somebody want to make a motion, or is there any comments from the public? Let's see any. Okay, we'll have more discussion when we have the public hearing. Somebody want to make a motion? The motion would be that we're making a determination that is either a major or a minor change. That would be the decision we have to make. In my opinion, it's a minor change. I don't think they need to, I wouldn't recommend requiring a new notice of intent.
I agree, considering there was so much more to the notice of intent. There was other impact areas all over the site, so.
Right.
I
And
agree.
this change, I think, is lessening the impact to wetlands because they're not putting puncheons across the delineated wetlands. So I agree. So I'd still move.
Okay, so you're moving, and so we have a second.
I'll second.
Could somebody unshare this site plan now? Thank you. Okay, David. Thank you.
Aye.
Stefan, aye. Harrington.
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
I think we're getting some reverb. Possibly somebody has a couple of devices on, so I'm wondering if everybody besides the commission could just mute themselves. See if we can get rid of that reverb. Great. It went away. Okay, I'm looking at our schedule, and we only meet once as of now. We're only planning to meet once in December on the 8th. Would that work for you for a public hearing?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, unless you guys want to do something special for us sooner.
Yeah, on Thanksgiving, which is the other Thursday in November. Yeah. Well, let's do the 8th. How about 7:15 as the
Okay.
public hearing? And you can go ahead. If you need the templates, why don't you send me an email and I'll send them to you. They are on our website under applications. So use the most current templates.
And which templates am I looking for, Marion?
You can just go under notice of intent and there's templates. And when you fill it out, you would say it's a public hearing for an amended order of conditions, because it's not a notice of intent. It's not a public hearing for a notice of intent. It's a public hearing for an amended order of conditions request.
Okay.
But if you want to look at it and then, I can have me look at it before you send it off to all the people, that would be fine. And so we'll just need, you've already sent us this package. We'll need the proof of, notifications to abutters, the 100-foot certified list of abutters. You'll have to get a new certified list, and you'll have to put a legal notice in the newspaper. Commissioners, do you want to do a site visit to look at this?
I don't think we
And
need.
So we've been.
I've looked at it before, so I feel comfortable.
I feel comfortable based on the more
Okay.
recent site visit. Nothing's changed. So
I guess, let me amend that. I think the only question I would have is, I can't remember the delineation on the north side of the wetland and where this trail is proposing to go. And so I think that would be the only, I don't think I need it in a site visit, but I think understanding that the trail, where it's going to go, is it going to go through the wetland now on the north side as opposed to where it was going through the wetland on the south side? Or is it actually going outside of the delineation? And I don't recall seeing those delineation flags on the north side all the way around.
my
You might-
recollection was the flagging was missing also. when we
Right.
went.
Correct.
You didn't see any flags. But Walker was able to transfer the GIS data from the SWCA delineation into his mapping and use it on the ground. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, Walker. And he actually found some pins for us as well. So he's pretty accurate, and he feels that he has laid it out
Okay.
as much outside of the delineated area as it could possibly be.
And the site plan you just showed us had the delineation superimposed.
It
on the-
did, yes.
so we can-
Yeah.
So is it, I guess that would be the only, and I'm close, so I'm available to go out and look, but I guess my question would be, if it's completely outside the delineated wetland, I think that would be,
It's not.
then I don't feel the need to look at it. If it's kind of on the edge or in the delineated wetland, then I would like to go and look at it. And I don't know which one it is.
Well, why don't we do a site visit then? I'll try to poll people and see if maybe,
Okay.
I can't do it this weekend. And I know weekends, we have to do a weekend, but let me poll people and see where we can arrange before the 8th. Okay.
I could do it this weekend if that worked.
Sure, if other people want to go.
Yeah.
Oh, let's take that offline. We'll figure it out after the meeting. Thank you. Okay, I think we're all set with you.
I've one question. What newspaper do you folks usually post in?
It can either be the Daily Hampshire Gazette or the Greenfield Recorder. It's your choice, and the instructions are on the website if you go online. And there's some instructions for an amended order of conditions as well that you might want to take a look at, because just to familiarize yourself with what we need to do at the public hearing.
And one other question, if you're doing a site visit, are you going to want Walker to flag the proposed trail route?
Sky,
For me, I guess what I'm interested in is the proposed trail route in the delineated wetland, or is it outside of the delineated wetland? That's really my question.
well, that's on the site plan, isn't it? So Scott, if you look at it, you probably can figure that out from the site plan, right?
I don't know. Well, what I was hearing is that they said it was kind of on the edge, or maybe it was in both, and I didn't understand it. So if there's an answer to that, that would answer my question.
Are we referring to the bordered the VW or the 100 or the 200-foot wetland buffer?
I'm
Which-
talking about the actual wetland boundary, not I know it's within the buffer.
Okay, yeah. So that the green on that map, the green on the map is what they put. That was the SWCA data, and I superimposed it onto this. And that's an aerial photo, an ortho photo I took just the other day.
Okay.
So
So-
that you can see the puncheon is the orange, and the puncheon goes across the places where it crosses the BVW is puncheon, and the places that it doesn't is the stone dust.
Okay, then I'm good if I don't feel like I need to look at it if that's how it actually is playing out in the field, is that it's stone dust outside of the wetland itself, punching within.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So no site visit. Thank you. You can stop the screen share and you're all good, Chris, and you can go to our website, and if you have questions, just reach out to me, okay?
Will do. Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
so much. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, next is, there's a certificate of compliance request for 45 Shore Drive. I don't know if the Lombards are here. Are they? Don't think they are. So this is an old order of conditions from 2008 when they did the a lake lowering project across the lake where lots of different lakeside residents did notices of intent. It was a big bundled NOI, and this property had some dredging done in front of it within the lake in 2008. So they're selling the property. They actually were closing today, and we're very eager to get this all squared away. And unfortunately, we couldn't issue the certificate of compliance until tonight's meeting. Mary and I went out and looked at the property. And obviously, there's not a lot to verify because it's underwater and it's 14 years old. I don't see any reason not to approve the certificate of compliance. I don't think there's a need for an as-built under these circumstances. It was a very limited project, so I'd like to propose that we just approve it. Move on. Any
I'm
questions?
okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will email this to their attorneys. They made a deal with their buyer that, you know, we would get it to them as soon as possible. Unfortunately, tomorrow, I'm pretty sure things are closed because of the holiday. They wanted to go and get it recorded at the registry, but I would think the registry would be closed tomorrow,
Yeah.
but it is what it is.
Hmm.
They at least they'll have it in hand, at least digitally. So would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 45 Shore Drive.
Okay, second.
I second.
Okay, David,
Abstain.
DeFont, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to take things a little bit out of order just because we're in the middle of ratifying things. We had two emergency certifications that I wanted us to review. One was from National Grid to remove a hazard tree on Pine Drive in the right of way of Pine Drive that was damaged by beavers and was in danger of taking down power lines. Mary and I went out and looked at it. The tree is a hazard. Don Wakalak also gave us the recommendation that it should be removed. So I went ahead and issued the emergency certification for National Grid.
Did that include that second tree that I
It was just, no, National Grid was only interested in that tree.
okay.
And the highway department wouldn't get involved because it's a private road. And so National Grid was concerned because it was a threat to the power lines. So would somebody like to make a motion? Do you need to see the emergency certification? I think I sent it. No, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency certification for National Grid tree removal on Pine Drive.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
DeFont, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Then we had another emergency certification to ratify. This is a highway department project on Leverett Road. Beth and I went out and looked at it where erosion is damaging the pavement, and Tim Hunting felt it was a safety hazard. Beth and I agreed that they needed to do some improvements well, they have to repair the pavement, but they need to do some improvements to manage stormwater in that area so that the road doesn't continue to erode. So there's kind of a berm that's developed right under the guardrails. It slopes down into a BVW. And then it goes into Roaring Brook. It may actually be in Riverfront, but we didn't go out and measure it. But the berm is just from debris and sediments sort of collecting under the guardrails, but it's preventing any sheet flow. So they're going to take that down, kind of make a new swale, line it with trap rock, and they want to make a stormwater cut above the guardrails, the top of the slope, that they said they would armor with bedrock, with trap rock. Did you have any comments? Do you want to add, Beth?
No, it's certainly an emergency. The pavement of the road is breaking away on the edge there where the drainage is basically getting trapped next to this berm in the road. So I do feel it's an emergency. So I feel like that's the best way to address it, with an emergency cert.
Well, somebody want to make any other questions? No? Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to ratify the emergency cert for the highway department to do work on Leverett Road.
I'll second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Font, I, Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, next, we have, I'm just getting a couple things off our list before we get into anything that's going to require more substantive discussion. We have minutes from September 22nd to consider, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the draft out to you guys until fairly late. And then afterwards, after I sent it out, Robin emailed me and had some corrections. And then I found some more things that were missing from it. So I just sent out a draft maybe 2 hours ago. Have people had a chance to look at it?
The new one?
Yeah, pretty sure I sent it out. Did I send it out? Anybody get it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
look at it. It looked good to me.
Okay, it might say something like version 3, MD edits 3 or something like that. There was an MD edits 2, so this is a more recent one. Any questions? Discussion? No?
No.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to approve them?
Make a motion to approve the September 22nd meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
DeFont, I, Harrington,
Abstain, I wasn't there.
that's right, and Con, you weren't there. So you're abstaining, right? And
Yep.
Beth, Wilson,
Aye.
okay. All right, next, I had on the agenda, I wanted to update the commission and have a little bit of a discussion about some recent discussion around beaver management. Because there were some concerned residents that contacted us about beaver trapping that happened near a culvert at the invert of Fisk Brook on Lake Wyola. There's a culvert right over Lakeview Road, under Lakeview Road, and just north of that is I think it's called now the Pine Brook Camp. Is that what it's called? Pine Crest Camp, Pine Brook Camp.
Mhm.
And then the border of Wendell is just upstream. And I went to a Board of Health meeting to have a conversation about it. And I'm on the Energy and Climate Action Committee committee. And at our last meeting this week, there was also some discussion about it, asking the ECAC committee if they were interested in being part of a larger conversation about how beavers are approached, from a kind of an ecological perspective, but also understanding how role they play in stormwater management. The other piece of information I learned, as you may remember, beaver permits come through the Board of Health, not us. So if there's a trapping request, that goes straight to the Board of Health and we would not be involved at all. If there's a request or a need to install a flow protection device or to breach a dam, then the Board of Health would permit it, and then we have to issue an emergency certification with conditions for how we want it to be done in order to protect the resource area. When I spoke with the Board of Health, I was asking whether we could have a larger conversation about how the decision-making gets made. Because in the case of the culvert on Lakeview Road, I think there's been different stories and different understandings about what is appropriate at that location. I had a conversation with Mike Callahan of Beaver Solutions, who is a beaver management specialist, and he had evaluated that culvert for the town several years ago. And he shared some information with me that led me to understand that it might be possible to put a flow protection device there at that location, which would then obviate the problem, the need for trapping or breaching dams or having the infrastructure at risk. So like to see what the commission would like to do. The other issue is that I also learned that at the Board of Health meeting that Shutesbury has historically taken down beaver dams upstream in Fisk Brook and in Fisk Pond in order to protect infrastructure. However, those activities are in Wendell, not in Shutesbury, and the Wendell Conservation Commission was never informed of any of that. And they are interested in learning more about what the town is doing in Wendell.
My thoughts on that would be that every beaver situation is usually pretty unique. And sometimes beaver deceivers are usable in a situation and sometimes they're not. In this particular area, I think, as usual, I would love to do a site visit. I think if there's a particular area where there's a question about it, it sounds like there's a few, but they all sound to be connected over there by Pine Brook and into Wendell. So maybe a site visit would be a start.
And Wendell Conservation Commission was interested in doing it with us. And perhaps going upstream and looking at what's going on in Wendell as well. So what I was thinking, and I had sent an email out about this, was we're trying to coordinate another site visit at this location, invite Wendell Conservation Commission and the Highway Department and the Board of Health. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I think that's a great start.
I do too.
Talking about it,
Okay. So there was a similar kind of site visit that happened earlier this year with LWAC. This would be a little different focus, I think. But I think this would be great. I will reach out to them about doing that.
Good.
Thank you.
What else do we have? I'm looking, site visit discussion.
You do have a raised hand there.
Yes, go ahead. Hi, Mary Jo. Sure, welcome.
Hi, thanks. I was just going to offer to email you all a copy of a beaver guidebook that I found online. It has all sorts of information on how beaver impact landscape and different types of water level control devices. So if you're going to do a site visit and you wanted to take the time, you could kind of envision what begin to envision maybe what might be needed or what that area could potentially look like.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be
I'll-
really useful.
I'll send it on to you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Mary Lou?
Hi, Mary Lou Conca. I just want to say to you all that I'm very, very excited that that you all are doing this, and that I'm very grateful. I'm very happy. And I'm sure the Beaver families who will be spared are happy too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Could somebody else be letting people in?
Yeah, I'm letting people in.
Okay.
I don't see anybody backed up at this point.
Okay, great. Okay, other site visits, that, reviews, we did a pre-construction site visit at 70 Lake Drive as one of the conditions of their order conditions. That was Mary and I last week. Everything looked good. They're going to be working soon on that project as the water levels being dropped. And I don't think we have any other site visits for permits that we, Mary Lou, could you lower your hand now?
Okay,
don't
yeah, sorry.
Do we have any other site visits that we need to review? We did do the site visit at Southbrook Conservation Area, and I see Penny's here. And I had emailed Penny just as a follow-up because, you know, one of the things that we looked at when we did that site visit was that there was that bridge that's in very bad condition on the trails. Penny, are you here?
I am here.
Yeah, do you have some thoughts about that? I wondered what I had emailed was
You and
whether,
I discussed at the site visit was looking at the current CPA grant to see if there's sufficient funds to move forward with that. And as I recall, Beth agreed to put together an NOI or RDA, whatever the commission prefers. I think you had also suggested, Miriam, proposing a CPA grant. I do know from talking with the CPC group last time that I think what they would prefer is that any improvements that go along with the site to either crossings or improving trails be bundled into one project rather than it coming in piecemeal.
well, you know, I think we need to maybe have a conversation about if we feel like we should be doing the NOI. I know at that site visit, we also had there were some comments about wondering if it's appropriate for commissioners to be developing permit applications that we're then reviewing.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it, but then we thought, oh, wait, no, we can't. That's not appropriate. What I did volunteer to do was to get some costing for bridges of that size. And I forgot to do that, but I can do that.
Okay. So that would lead us then to who would develop the permit application. And I guess my question would be, would Open Space Committee or Recreation Committee be willing to take that on?
Possibly, but except for that one bridge that's in dangerous condition at this point, I don't think there's sufficient funding in hand to move forward with that. So I think the first thing is to sort of assess what the priorities are, and I don't think we're quite ready to do that.
Should we be thinking about something to prevent people from getting hurt on that bridge? I mean, I am worried that hikers are going, I mean, there are holes in it. I felt a little uncertain walking across it myself.
Well, it's definitely a worrisome situation, but I think I don't have an answer for you right now. You're putting me on the spot, and I was not prepared to address this in this meeting tonight.
Okay. Commissioners, is there anything we need to discuss further about this, or should we table this?
We don't have all the information. We probably should table it.
Okay. All right, so we'll get more information. Beth, hopefully we'll be able to get some information so we have an idea of what we're looking at. And maybe we can put this on the agenda at our next meeting and follow up about that.
Sounds
Right.
good.
Okay. The other issue I wanted to just bring up, I think I shared with everybody that the commission was forwarded a packet about a property that's being taken out of chapter 61 on Wendell Road. And the town of Shutesbury has a right of first refusal. We didn't get a chance to discuss this. So I wanted to put it on the agenda for tonight to see if there were any comments anybody wants to make about that particular property. It's going to be sold. But we could, if we felt strongly, we could advise the select board.
I don't feel strongly about it for conservation purposes. Right? And so, yeah, I mean, isn't that the usual process is that we express our decision about whether we feel it has strong conservation needs to the select board. So
right.
I did not.
I did not either. It, at least looking at the DEP mapping, there's no clear kind of wetland area. I'm sure there are small wetlands in there. Janice said there's a small, excuse me, vernal pool. But again, I don't see it being a high priority.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
So do I have everybody's permission to communicate that to the select board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So the next piece on our agenda was to have a follow-up updates about Lotto 32. Obviously, we're gonna not get into any detailed discussion about the ANRAD since there's a public hearing scheduled for next Thursday night. When the applicants will be here and our third-party reviewer will be here. And my understanding is that Fuss and O'Neill is out doing some additional delineation work this week. We have the TPR report from Emily Stockman, and there's been some feedback back and forth between Fuss and O'Neill and Emily Stockman about these further investigations that they're proposing. We did get an email from a resident who was concerned because he saw some equipment on Lotto 32 and was worried that somebody might be doing something. I did reach out to the town and clarify that they were not doing any excavation. They were moving some lumber that was being stored on Lotto 32 over to the highway department. And that's all there was. I did have an email exchange with Rita Farrell, who's here tonight. Hi, Rita. Just confirming that, the expectation would be that the town would not be doing any substantive work until we get the ANRAD squared away and know exactly where the jurisdictional areas are and what permitting might be required for any kind of work on that property. And she agreed to that. The other piece of update was that when we met with the select board on September 22nd, the initial discussion had been, an agreement had been that they would bundle a restoration cleanup proposal with the NOI for the library project. And my understanding from Rita is that the town no longer wishes to do it that way. They would like to decouple those two processes and do it in two stages. Rita suggested setting up a joint meeting with the select board at some point when the ANRAD is concluded to look at what permitting needs to happen and set up some timeframes for that. So, I guess the question I have for the commission is, how's that all sound? And do we want to communicate something in writing about what the next steps are and kind of what the timeframes are when we'd like to hear back from them, just so that there's some clarity about that?
Well, for me, it seems like, there's already a decision to meet about it when the ANRAD has been approved and to sit down with the select board and talk about, the next permitting phase and
Okay.
timeline for the next permitting.
Okay. How's that sound? That
It sounds good to me. It's,
the only thought I had was that because there's now been a change, that perhaps having it clear in writing that we're acknowledging that we understand there's a change, and that maybe setting up a time frame of when we want to meet with them. I wonder if it might be possible for us to do it in December.
to meet with the select board, to
Yeah,
have a
to meet
meeting.
with them.
What is Rita's here? What does you think about that?
Miriam, you okay with me
Yeah,
speaking?
sure, go ahead.
Okay. So just, I think, Miriam and I, as she mentioned, have communicated and as I've been talking with Mary Ann too, and Fuss and O'Neill, it seems like separating out the NOI for the library for the NOI for any of the cleanup makes a lot of sense. The select board hasn't discussed this, so I've just, because I've been the lead person, so at our next meeting, what I'm going to do is just have this on the agenda to make sure everybody is brought up to date, and then, we hope to have all that, the results of the testing done so that we can really kind of see what the whole picture is before we embark on, doing the separate NOI and thinking about the timing. So December probably makes sense. I don't know exactly when we'll have the testing back, but we're in the middle of November. So I think it's realistic to think at our first or second meeting in December that we could have a joint meeting and then, figure out how we're gonna proceed.
So just as an FYI, and I'm glad you're here. I had a conversation with some officials at DEP and asked them, for any feedback or recommendations that they might have about how to structure the NOI, what might be the approach to restoration that they would recommend. So I'm waiting to get that feedback from them. And I spoke with Brian Harrington and with John Ziegler, and they are going to speak with each other and get back to us. So I'm hoping that when we do meet in December, I would have some feedback from DEP as well.
Great.
Okay. And they said just a nutshell, what I did hear was that without getting into all the details, they suspected they might recommend that the town consult with its LSP to determine if the LSP wants to propose any testing, because there was solid waste in that area, whether or not they feel any further ground investigations should be conducted. So that will be up to the town to figure out with its LSP.
And they're aware of kind of we've discussed with them how we are thinking about proceeding, and so they're very well aware of the issues. So we will be obviously continuing to talk with Fuss and O'Neill about.
If it needs to be, if it's helpful for Fuss and O'Neill to have another site visit with us to look at some of these areas where there is fill. I mean, I know that I've gone out and have seen several areas of fill, some of which are not so apparent. And it might be good at some point for us to have a joint site visit so that we can walk around the property and all share what we know
Yeah.
with whoever is doing the assessment.
I just asked Mary Ann, I mean, today was the first day and I stopped there very briefly this morning, but today was the first day I really walked on site at all and walked back. So Mary Ann, I know you've been out there every time Fuss and O'Neill has been there. Are they familiar with the different locations now of where there was debris?
Yeah, so Tim Clinton is our LSP, and Matt Cassane's the project manager. And they've been out to visit, and we went over to the BVW that has the debris in it on the west side of the lot. And they didn't, and then they've been all around the front of the lot, and then they've been on the access road all the way out to 4-9. We've walked through pretty extensively looking for an alternate way to get into 4-9 instead of going on the access road. So we've spent quite a bit of time there. I don't think Tim will be out again. So they would have to be hired to, so they'd have to submit a proposal and then they'd have to be hired to come out and do that kind of investigative work, more of that investigative work. But Matt's going to be out when we're doing the soil borings at 4-9, and then he's going to be out again when we're doing the UIC investigation. So I can show him more. I know where all of the things you're concerned about are, and I can make sure he's aware of them.
Well, I don't think you know all the places because I found places when I was out with Mary last week that I hadn't seen when we went
So
on.
they weren't in the site in the report
No.
you sent yesterday? Okay.
No. So I do know there is a large debris pile in the bordering vegetated wetland that's on the eastern side of the property. The one
Next
that
to Nancy's?
what? Near
Yeah.
Nancy. Yeah, there's a big
Yeah.
pile there.
Yeah.
And there's
Well, that's in the report you sent yesterday, isn't it?
I didn't give locations.
Okay. All right.
And there is a debris pile, as we know, in the BVW, but I also, Mary and I found another pile that's in the northern area. No, I'm sorry, the southern area of the clearing, sort of moving south to where the tree line is. And we also found like a buried tire and wheel right behind where the garage was, that's underground. I mean, you wouldn't notice there's grass growing over it. We just kind of saw a little piece of black sticking out and then kind of kicked it and saw that it was a whole tire with a rim. And I don't know if there's other buried tires or material like that, but it leads me to think that that area behind the garage may still have other debris. It clearly has a tire and a rim, but there may be other things as well.
Well, we are going to be digging there when we do the UIC closure. So that would certainly identify things. Maybe you and I should go out there, Miriam, and I can take a map and I can mark the places on a map, and then I can share it with Fuss and O'Neill when they're here.
Could do that, or I have a GPS, and what we can do is go out and take waypoints and then upload it into a map so that you've got it sort of geolocated. We can certainly do that. I'd be happy to do that with you.
Okay.
We
All
can
righty.
do that. And
Okay.
anybody else wants to come along, certainly. It doesn't just have to.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
All right. So I think we have a plan that feels sufficient to me at this point.
Yep.
We move on. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move on to other issues on our topics. So looking at the agenda, I have on it that we there was a letter sent. We were contacted by Kestrel because they're in the process of coordinating the transfer of funds for the Pearson lot acquisition. And they needed me to sign a letter of kind of an acknowledgement letter that's needed for the Federal Forest Legacy Program. And then there'll be, you know, the sale and purchase agreement that needs to be coordinated between their attorney and our town council. So I reached out to the select board and to town council to give her all the information I had, just so she would have a heads up. But I think there may be some time sensitivity about signing this letter. So I want to get permission from the commission to sign that letter. I forwarded it to everybody if you had a chance to look at it.
All looks fine to me.
Looks good to me.
Me
Okay.
too.
Okay, so I have everybody's permission to sign it.
Yes.
I did kind of want Donna McNichol just to say it was okay to sign it, just because, you know, it's, so I did share it with her, and I will ask her again just to make sure that she's okay with it. I'm sure it's just a pro forma thing that they need, and I have confidence that Kestrel knows what they're doing about this process. Okay, so let me look. I'm just checking our agenda. Is there any items that we've missed that were on our agenda that we need to follow up on for tonight before we leave the public meeting? We did I know what the other piece was. When we met at our last meeting, we talked about our budget, because budget requests had to be submitted to the finance committee by the end of October. So as we discussed, I did write to the finance committee with a request for a 10% increase in our expense budget for fiscal year 24. That would be to address rising postage costs for the certified mailings that we have to send out. And they have this on the agenda for November 15th. So I sent everybody the what I sent them with what the rationale was.
Yep.
As best I could put it together. I did not feel I had it within me to go and calculate all the different kinds of postage and how they've changed over the last 2 fiscal years. That just felt really complicated, and I couldn't find the information online, so I didn't do that. But needless to say, there have been some significant changes, and postage costs are going to go up again in January of 2023. So it is an ongoing dynamic. So I'll go to that meeting on the 15th and discuss it with the finance committee. Hopefully they'll approve it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Are there any public comments for tonight? Yes, Leslie.
Thank you. I wanted to see if we could have a site visit for Schoolhouse Road, since there was some massive logging done. And to check stormwater management, to check possible flooding or wells drying, as we discussed in the spring. And some of the Conservation Commission came out, and indeed the cut that Dan McLean had done with the cutting plan with Andrew Rawcliffe with Woodsmith Forestry was moved back. But now what happened is they moved it back, and then they clear cut from Dan's driveway behind my property all the way into Pelham. And I'm concerned about, with winter coming, you know, I certainly, and other neighbors have expressed to me that if we could have one more visit just to see, because I've got some standing water near a culvert. I don't know if the culvert is blocked. I'm just like, can you come back and just review that the cutting plan was executed as it was proposed? You know, I'm concerned, as well as other neighbors, our wells, the road, you know, it's a dirt road. My neighbor, the big logging truck came and knocked over his mailbox. So it really wasn't designed for logging trucks. It's residential, not commercial. And I think 88 cords of wood or more have come out just behind my house. So I'm concerned, as well as other neighbors. And I know we'd all feel better if the commission would just come back and say, oh, we checked it out, it's good, or oh no, or we see these other issues might arise.
I responded to Leslie, and I don't know, I did forward my response to the commission. Have you guys had a chance to see the email, my response?
No, I don't think I saw that.
Okay, maybe I didn't send it.
Maybe I did, but I just didn't read that.
So I just reminded Leslie that we did review this at previous meetings, and we did consult with town council about it. And we also consulted with MACC. And it's a settled matter that the Conservation Commission is not tasked with enforcement of forest cutting plans. It's DCR. The DCR forester is who does enforcement, not us. And that complaints, if there's complaint about a forest cutting plan, it has to go to DCR. We really have no jurisdiction. And that's a settled matter because of case law and also a decision by the Attorney General's office in 1996 that local conservation commissions do not have jurisdiction over for agriculture, including forestry, commercial forestry. So I am worried about us doing what you're asking, Leslie, because I feel that we don't have a strong basis for interjecting ourselves into an issue that needs to be addressed with DCR.
Well, I think we disagree on this. I've consulted other lawyers, and I'm just asking for a site visit, you know, and then and if there's nothing to worry about, great. But
we have no
Commission came and did a site visit.
We can't go to a site visit on private property without the landowner's consent. We're not enforcing the Wetlands Protection Act. We're not enforcing the bylaw. So I'm not really sure on what basis we would be putting ourselves into this role.
The same basis as you, as a couple of people came out, I think it was Mary and Robin with Don, came out in May. And then there was a revision of the cutting plan, which took it further away from my back boundary. And so that is just, you know, I'm just trying to prevent the beavers from coming to Schoolhouse Road. There's a lot of standing water there.
Well, we did that site visit as a courtesy and with the consent of the landowner. But we were not exercising any enforcement authority in that circumstance. And if there was a change to the cutting plan, it wasn't because we mandated anything, Leslie. We did not take any enforcement action. And I think we need to hear from the rest of the commission how they would like to proceed. So I'd like to just pause and hear from the rest of the commission.
No, yeah, I agree. We don't really have any kind of authority to first of all, to even really look at the cutting and determine whether or not it was done right. I do know that the DCR forester has to come and do a final inspection and has to sign off on the cutting plan that he did a final inspection and agrees that that it was cut according to plan. But again, it's 100% the DCR's authority to watch over the forester that's doing the cutting and to initially approve the plan, review the plan, and then eventually when the cutting's done to come in and evaluate whether it was done correctly.
Anybody else have any comments from the commission?
No.
It sounds like it sounds like it should go to DCR first, you know, to go out and look at it if there's concerns.
I don't have anything different than what's been shared.
All right, so I think we're gonna move on, Leslie, from this
Okay.
topic, and I'm sorry, I know this isn't satisfying, and it's, not because we don't want to be helpful, or we're not, understanding that you're concerned about this and your neighbors are concerned, but this is just kind of a pretty bright line that there's just no legal basis for us to be putting ourselves in that role. So we would be doing it at our own peril, and I don't think that is a decision we're going to make here. So I'm sorry. Okay. I think you should bring it up with Andrew Rawcliffe, the DCR forester, if you have concerns, and I think that's the proper procedure.
I will do that again, but the person who was above Andrew Rawcliffe because of this cutting plan was actually fired over it. So I'll see if he'll take my call, and I can see if they'll check it out. I know there were streams up there, and it's just all covered in brush.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. I see two other comments. I see Mary Lou. Mary Lou, are you commenting on this matter, or were you had something new you wanted to bring up?
No, I was just going to comment on that matter. I was on Schoolhouse Road and I saw that truck come out of the driveway and I was stunned. And I thought, that I have to go somewhere else because this truck is coming my way. And so what if, I heard someone say the cutting plan was not honored, like the trees are already gone, the damage is already done. And what if there's a possibility that our town wetland bylaw is being violated?
So let me try to explain this again. So the state, and I hope I have this correct, the state legislature passed a law, and I can't give you the date, I don't have it offhand, saying that agriculture could not be regulated by local bylaws, that agriculture has to be regulated at the state level, because they wanted to have a uniform regulatory framework for all agriculture across the state. They didn't want it piecemeal, every town having its own regulations. Because of that, that means that local bylaws cannot impose conditions on agriculture. They're not, that aspect is not valid. So it means that commercial forestry, which the state defines as a kind of agriculture, is exempt from our bylaw, from any wetlands bylaw, local bylaw or ordinance. And if we were to try to assert it and we're challenged in court, we would not prevail because we have no legal basis. The courts have decided this. The Attorney General has ruled on it. We have no legal basis and we would not prevail. So knowing this, it would be improper for us to pursue this. It's not in the town's best interest. We don't have a legal basis for it. And we have to respect that process.
So I'm understanding it right, then they can violate a local wetlands bylaw. So maybe that is happening. And
That's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that local bylaw does not apply to this.
Yeah, but okay.
So it's regulated at the state level through DCR. And if there's violations, DCR is responsible for enforcement, not the Conservation Commission. So we are not the ones, just like we're not responsible if someone has a Title V violation.
Okay.
Board of Health does that. It's not our job. And this is one of those examples where it's just not our responsibility. We don't have any authority. Is that, Beth, everybody else, that makes sense?
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay. Leslie, and then we're probably going to be shortly after this ending our open meeting. So, Leslie, do you want to go?
You're talking about another Leslie or me?
Yes, Leslie Lachonic.
Thank you.
He's muted.
One neighbor to another. Have you had any satisfaction communicating with DCR about your issues and your questions and the problems?
No.
Okay.
And, I've been at it since last winter, spring, and I sometimes they even answer my call. But they are, no, I've not had any satisfaction.
Any communications with our state rep or state senator about this? It's been my experience at different times over the years that the only way you can sometimes get a response and a responsible response from a state agency is getting the state legislators to lean on them.
Yeah, well, I think what happened is I did get the Conservation Commission to come out in May and have a look. And because I had documented with photographs and videos, the evidence was that, and Woodsmith Forestry understood they were cutting in the wetlands with big machinery. And so they willingly moved the cut back. It was a compromise. They still, I thought they were going to reduce the cut by 50%. But then the cutting plan that Miriam sent me showed it was the 88 cords was still the amount. So I thought I was in good shape by the cut being moved back, but I never imagined that they would just clear cut all the way from 40 Schoolhouse Road all the way into Pelham, which is, I don't know, a good half mile, because there's also a contiguous cut with another neighbor in Pelham that leads to Cinda Jones's clear cuts in Pelham. So I'm, I don't know what to say, as I talk to other neighbors or people who have own land other places, this seems to be the new normal. And I was really hoping that in our town, we might say no to this. But I will check in now that we have a new governor who I think would recognize giving people perhaps tax benefits by keeping the carbon, the trees in the ground, instead of Governor Baker, who has consistently let the timber industry take the trees out of the ground for tax deductions. And other towns like Wendell, they just went in and clear cut and the state made no money. So hopefully with the new governor, things will change. The trees are gone. Mary Lou saw one truckload, but there were many. This went on for 3 weeks.
Okay, I think we need to move on.
Sure.
So I think questions have been asked and answered. So I think at this point we need to proceed with the remainder of our meeting.
Yes.
Not seeing anybody else's hand raised, so I'm thinking public comment is over. Is that correct? Okay. So at this point, I'll just explain for the people who are here. The Conservation Commission is going to go into an executive session. We are going to end the open meeting and go into an executive session, which will be just with us, to have a conversation that the chair has determined is necessary to have in private in order to not jeopardize the commission's positions. I've consulted with town council. She advised me about what motions to make for us to move into an executive session. So when we end the meeting, what will happen is everybody will have to leave the meeting, and we'll stop the recording, and then we'll have our discussion. So the reasons that we are going into executive session are for purposes number 3 and 7, exceptions to the open meeting law, MGL chapter 30A, section 21A, And those are to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. And purpose number 7, an exception to open meeting law, MGL 30A 21A, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. In this instance, it would be to comply with the provisions of MGL Chapter 268A, Conflict of Interest Statute, and MGL Chapter 214, Section 2B, Right to Privacy Statute. And we will not be reconvening in open session tonight. So with that said, I think maybe it will make most sense to get the wording correctly, that I make the motion and then ask for a second. Is that okay? So I move to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to litigation and to comply with provisions of the Conflict of Interest Statute and the Right to Privacy Statutes, and to not reconvene in open session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. David?
Aye.
Stefan? Aye. Harrington?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Okay, well, thank you. Our next meeting is next Thursday, November 17th, and at 7 p.m. we have the hearing for the Lot 032 ANRAD. All right. Carrie, you have your hand raised?
So if there's anything I need to mail out, like I'm assuming those emergency certifications and the COC, I don't have work tomorrow until like 4 o'clock, so I'll be around the afternoon or so to mail those out.
Post
And-
office will be closed. It's a federal
Oh,
holiday.
you're right. I'm so sorry. I totally forgot about that.
I'll email you them, and then they can get mailed out on Monday or Saturday, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Good thing you told me that, because I definitely would have gone down there trying to mail it out.
All right.
And my second thing's kind of minor, but it's more of a question for Mary David. I don't know if you got my email from ZBA about the packets of the ZBA bylaws, but I was just letting you know that I have a copy for you ready whenever you want them.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I am a co-host and you are as well, Beth?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to stop the